If you're new to our channel, don't forget to hit the subscribe button.
There are many things that we find on garden blogs and YouTube of people indicating that this is the next go-to greatest thing in the world since sliced bread. But when we find out and do a little more research, it is more of a clickbait and video click proper item than a actual it works. But here are a couple of remedies that seem kind of crazy, but actually do work in the garden.
So the first one is to bury your kitchen scraps. And what does that mean? It basically means that you can take...
You don't need a compost pile.
No, you can literally bury your kitchen scraps. Maybe you don't want a compost pile. Maybe it's intimidating to you. Maybe you just don't want to deal with it. You can take your kitchen scraps, your banana peels, your whatever you got, and you can bury it in your soil.
You can do a trench method, dig a 8 or 9 inch trench, put it in there, throw the soil on top of it, or just take and dig a hole, bury your kitchen scraps in strategic locations throughout the garden or yard, throw the soil back on top of it. You're saved from going to the landfill. You don't have to worry about a compost pile, and it's feeding the microbial life in the soil. As we talked about in the first segment, it's giving the worms and the crawly bugs something to feed on in your garden or your yard.
So the next one is to basically use urine to fertilize your soil. And this may seem weird or controversial or unsafe or whatever, but basically the composition of urine varies from person to person, but it generally has an NPK of 11, 1, and 2, which means that it's high in nitrogen.
Male urine has a higher concentrate of nitrogen than female urine. The warning that would be put with this is that based on the medication you may be taking, this can disrupt some of the NPK levels.
Right, so you definitely don't want to rely on that.
There are, But
let's talk about what.
There are people who are in that feel that they have very pure bodies, that they have practiced the raw vegan method of life, that they utilize their urine and their other byproducts in order to fertilize in a breakdown process. I mean,
so the reason this works is because it's typically higher nitrogen, and that's going to make your plants green. Nitrogen is what makes our plants green.
But we just can't pour it directly on our plants.
No, so there's a high salt content commonly in urine, no matter what you're eating. It's just part of flushing your body out.
Salt, yeah.
Yep. So you could burn your plants if you do just urinate directly on them. So it was better. Or if you don't want to dilute it, you would just want to maybe go a little bit further away from your plants and kind of feed the soil altogether.
And let it break down and dilute itself naturally.
And then if you have tender plants and seedlings, you want to dilute it further, but you want to basically dilute it 10 times in water. So if you have, let's say, a tablespoon of urine, then you want to add it to 9 tablespoons, so you break it down that 10-to-1 ratio. Seems
crazy, but there are people who do it and rely on it very heavily because they feel that it's making a tremendous difference, and it's kind of like a closed loop environment type of thing. You know, that's one that may seem a little odd. How about adding eggshells to our garden to increase the calcium levels in our soil?
Sure. So if you want to add eggshells to your garden, that's perfectly okay. You want to make sure they're dried. So if you have some eggshells, you can let them dry out, or you can put them in the microwave for a few seconds. It's going to dry them out. And then you want to pulverize them
into a powder, and then you can apply it in the hole at the time of planting for tomatoes. You can just mix it into your compost pile. The reason why we are pulverizing the eggshells is due to the time that it takes for the shell to break down naturally. If you just crumple it and throw it in the compost pile or put it in the hole at the time of planting, that eggshell can take up to 18 months to break down to the point where the calcium and other nutrients that is obtained in that eggshell would be utilized and available for uptake in the plant. So 18 months versus maybe 4 to 6 months in a pulverized powdered form whenever you're doing it that way. Wood ash from your wood-burning stove or fireplace or campfire can make your soil alkaline and asterisk here, note, do not use treated lumber in any of these applications in order to apply that to your garden, because there are chemicals that will mess around and mess up your basic soil structure. But just standard plain wood can change the pH level in your soil.
So
soil runs from alkaline to or acidic to alkaline, 0 to 14. We want it to be more 7, but there are some plants that, if you are on the very low level, you can add the wood ash to bring that pH up a little bit. But you want to be very cautious of this, because you can treat your soil and really mess up the pH level to where it would take several years in order to drop it back down to get it to a level in which it's safe for plants, or plants will grow in it.
Okay. So then also we would get rid of aphids with soap and water. So what you're going to do is you're going to take non-detergent soap, something like dish soap or Dr. Bronner's. You dilute it with water, and then you put it in a spray bottle and you spray on your plants, and that gets rid of a lot of aphids. They're
a soft-bodied insect, and this basically kills them or disrupts their cycle and causes them to fall off the plant. Aphids are the tick of the plant world. They will suck the juices out of your plant and kill it that way. So that's what we want to be aware of.
It's more like the leech.
Leech, okay. Well, let's talk about neem oil.
Sure. So neem oil is a great oil to use. It's a great carrier oil for.
Explain what a carrier oil is.
Sure. So it's also got a lot of properties in it to get rid of a lot of pests. Like we had scale on our lime tree, and it helped get rid of that. So what neem oil, a carrier oil, means is that if you need to use some sort of oil to make a spray, to spray on your plants, neem oil is what you want to do. First of all, it's going to help bind those ingredients together, and second of all, it's good for your plants.
So it holds the ingredients you're mixing together, and then it also sticks to the item in which we're applying it to allow those ingredients to be activated on the issue in which we're trying to solve.
Right.
Okay.
You don't have to use it, but if it says something like use neem oil or neem oil could help, I would recommend it because it does work very efficiently.
Cold pressed neem oil.
You want to use cold press. So instead of going like to the garden center, you might want to go to, like we would go to Outpost here.
Your natural food
store, because it's going to be in a smaller bottle, and you know it's going to be properly cold pressed. If you buy it from the local garden center, a lot of times it's after it's been cold pressed, and it's just basically oil.
That will not work for what you're trying to do. Also, warning: it does not smell very nice.
No, it smells like burnt tires and sulfur,
because it comes from the seed. It's crushed to the seed of the plant.
It smells terrible.
Yeah. That's how it's made. But works very well. Also, finally here, let's talk about baking soda as a fungal disease fix.
So we kind of touched on this with our powdery mildew talk
last week.
So what happens is that powdery mildew is a fungus. Funguses occur a lot. Doesn't mean there's not anything wrong with your garden necessarily, but bacteria or baking soda helps break that up. So you can, if you see some sort of fungus on your plants, or what you might think is fungus, or maybe you get that dog vomit fungus, you can use baking soda. It's going to help break it up. Something about the components of it, I don't know if it's because it's I don't know what it does.
It messes
it's neutral.
Right.
Baking soda is very neutral.
It messes with the pH level that is on the leaf structure for the powdery mildew issue, and then causes that mildew not to be able to form because the pH is goofed up on it or messed up on it. So that's a great way, instead of using a harsh chemical, see if baking soda can be used in your garden for a problem in which you are facing.
For more information, please visit thewisconsinvegetablegardener.com.